And good evening. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday night, February 23rd, as we recap quite an eventful day in the Alec Murdaugh double murder trial as he took the stand in his own defense today. Many wondered if he would, and he ended up doing so. And on the witness stand, he admitted to lying to investigators about where he was the night his wife Maggie and when his son Paul were murdered. After we go over some of today's testimony by Murdaugh, we're going to be joined by criminal defense attorney Taylor Bell for his take on today's developments. Early on today, Murdaugh telling Judge Newman that he wanted to testify. And once on the stand, Murdaugh was asked almost immediately if he killed his wife and son while attempting to explain some of the circumstantial evidence raised by the state. Here now are some of the highlights from Murdaugh's testimony.
Have you made a decision as to whether you're going to testify?
Yes, sir.
All right, and what is your decision?
I am going to testify. I want to testify.
Mr. Murdaugh, on June 7th, 2021, did you take this gun or any gun like it and shoot your son Paul in the chest in the feed room at your property off Moselle Road?
No, I did not.
Did you shoot a .300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime, ever.
Mr. Murdaugh, is that you on the kennel video at 8:44 p.m. on June 7th, the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
It is.
Were you in fact at the kennels at 8:44 p.m. on the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
I was. On June the 7th, I wasn't thinking clearly. I don't think I was capable of reason. And I lied about being down there. And I'm so sorry that I did. Most of all, I'm sorry to Mags and Pawpaw. I would never intentionally do anything to hurt either one of them.
Did you continue lying after that night? Did you not?
But once I lied, I continued to lie. Yes, sir.
Why?
You know, oh, what a tangled web we weave. But once I told a lie, I told my family, I had to keep lying. Maggie wanted to go to the kennels, and I had eaten dinner. I laid back on the couch where I was sitting. Maggie wanted to go to the kennels, and she asked me to go, and I didn't go at that time. I didn't want to go. And like many times when Maggie asked me to do something that I didn't want to do or didn't start out doing, I changed my mind and decided I'm gonna ride up there. And I did.
And how did you get to the kennels?
I went on a golf cart.
Did you notify Maggie in some form that you were leaving to go to see your mom?
I tried to call her.
And did she answer?
No.
And what'd you do after that?
I think I tried to call her again.
And did she answer?
No, she didn't answer. And at some point, I texted her after that.
Did you see them on the ground when you're pulling up in your Suburban?
I did.
And what'd you do when you came to a stop, Alec?
I think I jumped out of my car. I'm not exactly sure what I did, but no, I got out of my car. I know I ran back to my car, called 911.
Murdaugh telling the jury today that he had an opioid addiction, blaming that for some of his decision-making on the evening of June 7th, the night of the murders. Now, attorney Creighton Waters handled the prosecution questioning late today. He was focusing in on the alleged financial crimes. Take a listen.
And would you also agree that the first time that law enforcement officers that you've talked to and the prosecution and here in open court ever heard you say that you lied about being in the kennels was today in this court?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
You would agree with that?
Yes, sir. I admit candidly in all of these cases, Mr. Waters, that I took money that was not mine and I shouldn't have done it. I hate the fact that I did it. I'm embarrassed by it. I'm embarrassed for my son. I'm embarrassed for my family. And I don't dispute that I did it.
I understand that. But
And
you
so-
understand that we have to ask about these things because we've heard about it in a very academic paperwork manner. But every single one of these, you had to sit down and look somebody in the eye and convince them that you were on their side when you were not, correct? That's what you did in every single one of these.
I mean, every time.
Answer my question, yes or no, and then you can explain. I'll let you explain all day long.
Well, I mean, no, sir, that may or may not be true. And Mr. Waters, just to try to get through this quicker, I admit.
I know you want to get through it quicker, but we're not. So answer the question, please.
What I admit is that I misled them, I did wrong, and that I stole their money.
All right, what is that?
Which one?
570, what is that?
All right, 571 is what I would consider to be my badge.
All right, and then what is this one right here, which is 570?
Okay, 570 would be the one I told you about was my grandfather's badge after he retired, when he became an assistant for my dad.
You were just using having this badge to your advantage and taking license with it, is that correct?
I guess in some circumstances that is accurate.
See if you could use it to get away with something, correct? Get better treatment if you got pulled over.
Get better treatment if I got pulled over. I mean, that's probably a fair statement.
Okay.
That, yeah, if somebody in law enforcement saw that, yeah, I'd say that's true. To me,
I'm asking you if you remember one time where you're sitting there in your heart, looking somebody in the eye, knowing you're stealing from them, and you remember it.
I remember stealing from people, I remember lying to people, and I remember misleading people. For me to tell you that I sat down with each one of these people,
I'm asking you to tell me about just one conversation, one time where you recall looking somebody in the eye and convincing them with your lies that nothing was amiss. One conversation.
there were plenty of conversations where I looked people in the eye and I lied to them. There were plenty of times where I took money that I shouldn't have taken. There were plenty of times where I stole money. For me to sit and tell you a specific time that I sat down with a specific document and what exactly was said, if you ask me questions, but I can't remember sitting down with Dion on a...
They certainly remember it, don't they, Mr. Murdaugh?
I don't know if they do or not, but I would assume so.
All right, so a lot to unpack with that testimony. You saw a badge. We'll talk about that badge in a moment and the significance of it. Taylor Bell, criminal defense attorney, is joining us now to go over what we saw in court today. You watched it today, didn't you?
I did. I watched it today.
Were you surprised at all that Murdaugh took the stand in his own defense?
Not after yesterday's motion by the defense. I kind of anticipated it. I'd seen some tweets saying that people had information that he was going to take the witness stand.
Do you think he did himself any favors with the jury today?
I think this decision to take the witness stand was an all or nothing approach. He's not shooting for a hung jury. He's shooting for a not guilty, and that's what he wants, and that's why he took the witness stand here today.
But he admits on the witness stand to lying about where he was the night of the murders. That's one thing that he admitted to. We'll get to the other stuff in a moment. I mean, that's crucial. I mean, without that video that came from Paul Murdaugh's phone that they recovered, he might be still sticking to the I was asleep inside the home when the murders happened story.
Yeah, I was not that impressed, though, at the paranoia version of events as to why he lied. I think a better approach, but I'm not him, I wasn't there. If he's telling the truth now, I don't know that. That's for the jury to decide. But the idea that I don't remember because I just saw my son with literally his head decapitated,
Right, yeah.
it is a better approach to the explaining why he may have misspoke as opposed to the lie. And he continued to lie, is what he admitted to today. I mean, that is damaging.
Right.
But, other things that he said, he talked and, there was real emotion there. I'm not saying that he hasn't disassociated himself from, the incident if he in fact did commit these murders. But the emotions were real today, from what I saw, that he really cared about his family, and that showed today.
If you were to believe Murdaugh's testimony today, if you're sitting on that jury, the defense is leading you to believe that Murdaugh was in the dog kennels where the crime scene took place, where the murders happened, that he was there as late as 8:45, and a killer or killers were waiting in the wings as soon as Murdaugh left to go back to his home to take a brief nap that couldn't have been no more than a minute or two because the GPS data has him in his vehicle shortly after 9 o'clock that night. So, and by his own admission, he said he went back to the house. He may have taken a short nap. He's not quite sure how long he was napping, but he woke up, decided he needed to go to his mom's house, whatever. Okay. But if you believe his story, then a killer or killers was waiting in the wings to commit these crimes.
That would be correct. There was a very short period of time, based on his testimony, that these murders could have taken place. We don't know the full story. We will probably never know the full story. But there are a lot of theories out there that maybe someone was after Paul. Maybe somebody was after Alec. There are those theories, and maybe they just happened to be there at the wrong time. I don't know. But you're right. That is a very short window. And I think tomorrow you're going to get into some of the timeline from Waters in cross-examination, trying to get Alec to go through and talk about, so you didn't do this during this time, and go down the entire timeline of those events.
So Murdaugh tells the jury today he comes back from his parents' home, discovers the body. He testifies that he's actually trying to turn Paul over by a loop on his pants. He says he got blood on his fingertips. According to what we've heard, this is a very gruesome crime scene with parts of skull fragment and brain matter away from the body. There's a lot of blood everywhere. How is that possible? Where's the blood on Murdaugh if in fact this is what he did?
That's my biggest question. That is my absolute biggest question. The hardest thing that I'm trying to grasp if I'm sitting in the jury box and presuming he's innocent to start with, as their obligation is. I'm trying to grasp how a father doesn't go down and grab their son and not let go of them. I'm trying to, though he acknowledges he pulls. I also trying to understand if you see that his head is decapitated, it's kind of obvious at that point that there's no life. I don't know if I would be thinking that. I've never been put in that situation. I don't think any jurors have ever been put in that situation to know what they'd exactly do. So it's explainable. And this is the defense attorney in me saying it's explainable. The father in me saying, how do you not go down there and grab your son?
Right. So, I mean, again, according to the data we saw last week that was provided by General Motors, within 20 seconds of him getting to the crime scene, instead of trying to see if his wife can be revived or seeing about his son, within 20 seconds he's calling 911. This is where the prosecution says the times and the actions of Murdaugh, at least according to the information they received, just don't add up.
So some of that was clarified a little bit by Alec. I'm not sure if I
And would you
believe
also
it,
agree?
But what the prosecution put up was that he was not inside the Suburban. and that he was going back and forth while he was on the phone with 911 is what Alec testified to today. That I don't remember the exact statement, but I've checked him now, and something along those lines. So it adds more time than 20 seconds,
Right.
if that's what happened, which is a good explanation. It again depends on whether the jury believes it.
What about the lying that he has admitted to, lying to his family and friends, lying to investigators, and then saying he was paranoid because of the opioid addiction that he says he has right now, and that contributed to some bad decisions that he made on the night of the murders?
It does. Drug addicts tend to have paranoid thoughts. That's reasonable. I don't think it's the best answer there. As I just said, I think the better answer is, I just saw my son decapitated. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I was thinking. I just said this, and then I felt I had to continue saying it because I started to realize I was becoming a suspect.
Right.
And I needed to stick with what I said.
When he's answering questions from the defense today, he's not looking at his defense attorney for the most part. He's looking at the jury. I mean, we noticed that in our newsroom today. All these other witnesses have looked straight ahead at the attorneys as they ask them questions about that night. They're looking at whoever's asking the question. Murdaugh today was turned sideways and looking over at the jury for a majority of his answers from the defense. Is that something that's planned? Is that something that might help, he thinks, when it comes to the jury?
That's National Criminal Defense College 101. You're speaking to the people that are judging you. You're going to turn towards them. I guarantee he's known that from being a trial lawyer. His counsel told him, speak to the jury, because that's the people that are giving a decision at the end, not the lawyers. You're not going to turn and look at the lawyers, because then it's kind of disrespectful. You're not facing who you're speaking to. You need them to believe you at the end of the day, because you're going to be asking them a question at the end of the day, and that's to bring a verdict back of not guilty.
So by his own admission, Alec Murdaugh is an admitted liar and a thief. In court today, he admitted to stealing money from clients and his law firm. The state says that's the motive that they're trying to show here. Because of his financial crimes, he killed his wife, he killed his son to buy more time to deal with the financial crimes that he committed. And in Creighton Waters today, just hammering home the financial woes of Alec Murdaugh over and over and over in court today.
He did. I don't think that did really much good.
Really?
I really don't. I think that it's something that they'd already proven, and I think the jury's wanting to know more about the murder. Let's get to this timeline and ask questions of Alec about what happened here, step by step, minute by minute, and break it apart. I really don't believe that him going through each disbursement that Alec lied about really did any good. I think it got to the point where Creighton was trying to be smarter than Alec, and Alec actually is not a dumb human being. He's smart enough to have gone to school, passed the bar exam. It got to be a competition of who's the smartest person here, and it didn't look very good from my eyes in a cross-examination.
At one point today, Murdaugh seemed agitated. He was like, basically, we can skip through all this, we can go forward. And Creighton Waters says, well, I know you would like to, but we're not going to. So there was a little bit of back and forth going there. And I noticed in this video, again, he's looking at Creighton Waters here in this video. He's not looking at the jury this time. So is this what they're taught to do when it's under cross-examination?
Yeah, I think he got a little bit off there. Under cross, I would still tell my client, turn to the jury and talk to the jury. I would. Obviously, when you start getting a little bit heated in discussion, you can get your attention drawn to the person that is causing the friction. And there was some friction. I think Alec did a very good job. I think it was a really good performance so far. I think the prosecution needs to to do a better job of not asking open-ended questions. The prosecution so far has not objected to the run-on answers that Alec's been given, and he could ask the judge, give a yes or no answer. Tell this witness to give us a yes or no answer. That this question did not call for any additional comment, and that's not being done.
The prosecution kind of hinting today that Murdaugh never called Maggie Mags, never called Paul Papa, never called Buster Bus, and some other nicknames. Isn't that easily provable by putting other witnesses on the stand saying, well, yeah, he did. He had nicknames for these individuals?
Absolutely, it's possible. I think that was planned for sure, to kind of get the idea that they are a family, that he does care about them. And you might not see those names called to other folks. You know, I have nicknames for my son, Tantan. So, you know, I don't use it all the time, but I do use it sometimes.
Right.
And, you know, it's a fond memory that he probably has, and he's trying to remember his children, or his child in a very fond memory. He made you really like Paul in the testimony today, where previously Paul's kind of not been someone that folks have really thought a whole bunch about. They kind of thought of him as someone that drank a lot and was disrespectful, but so far he kind of made you like Paul. It made you kind of feel real sorry for Paul.
And a lot of people have opinions of Paul Murdaugh based on the fatal boating accident from 2019, Mallory Beach dying in that boating accident, which brings us to the badge presentation in court today. It was a picture of Murdaugh in the hospital, I believe, that night, with a badge hanging out of his pocket on his hip. That badge is his, from my understanding, his old assistant solicitor badge when he assisted his father in the solicitor's office down in the Low Country, correct?
That's correct. That's a double-edged sword in my opinion, because yes, it shows he's deceitful. Absolutely, that's what the prosecution was trying to get out. Absolutely shows that. However, it shows that he was willing to probably do anything for his son, and now they're accusing him of killing that son. Those just don't match up. If he's going to do anything to protect his son in that situation, even possibly breaking the law. There was an investigation about it. I think there were some questions about that. That kind of tells you, though, he really, really cared about Paul, and it could be thrown back in the prosecution's face.
But in 2019 with this boating accident, that was an old badge that Murdaugh still had from his days of helping out in the solicitor's office. Prosecution basically implying that he was flashing it around to get some sort of special treatment, and then he has flashed it around for years, in fact, to get some sort of favor when it helps him.
Absolutely. I mean, that was during when he kept it on his dash, hoping to get a favor if he got pulled over. I think that's absolutely what was implied, and he acknowledged that. I think he acknowledged that. I think he could have been a little bit more forthcoming with that and said, yes, I did do this because I cared about my kid, and I wanted my kid not to get in trouble. That would have been, I think, a better answer.
Well, he's acknowledged a lot. He acknowledged a lot today. He acknowledged that he is a liar, a repetitive liar. He also acknowledged that he's a thief. He also acknowledged that he used that badge to try and get some sort of favors. So he admitted a lot of things in court today, except that he's the killer. He keeps insisting, it's somebody else, it's not me, I never would have done this. Are we going to hear more of that tomorrow?
Absolutely. I think you're going to have another 3, 4, 5 hours. I don't know if he will get off the witness stand tomorrow. I think that Creighton didn't really do a good job today. I think that Creighton's going to look back and he's going to say, all right, I need to get to the inconsistencies of his story. Get to, are you lying then or are you lying now?
Right.
You know, you lied then or you lying now? And each time he asked him about where he's lied in the videos, where the timeline doesn't match up with what he testified to today, just go over them one after another.
But when you're an admitted liar, isn't that a credibility issue with the jury?
It's absolutely a credibility issue here, being an admitted liar, being an admitted thief. But a thief does not necessarily equate to being a murderer. And that's what he was, when his defense got up there and had him acknowledge these things to start with, they wanted to get ahead of it. They wanted to get ahead of it. I got a text message from a family member that said, you're asking, he keeps asking about these finances. I want him to start asking about the murder. And I think, you're seeing a financial crime trial within a murder trial, but we're here for a decision by the jury on murder.
Right.
And I think the government's over trying it.
But the questions about June 7th, the night of June 7th, the crime scene, the murders, that is surely going to be something that the state hammers home tomorrow as well with him on the stand.
Absolutely. I'm waiting for that. I was in a courtroom and today for work, and a couple of the attorneys were like, he's testifying, and you saw several people put on their iPods and anticipation of listening to the testimony.
A lot of spring fever today, not to go out and play golf, but to sit at home and watch this trial perhaps. So late in the day, after the judge said he was going to recess until 9:30 in the morning, defense attorney Dick Harpootlian said, look, Judge, I got two more witnesses here other than my defendant here, other than my client, I should say. I got two more witnesses. Total, they might be 2.5 hours or so. Can I put them on first thing in the morning and then let Waters go back to cross-examining my client? Judge denied that. He said nope, because basically Creighton Waters said, don't want to interrupt my cross-examination. How odd would that have been if the judge had said, okay, we'll put you on hold, we'll put these other two witnesses in before you? That would have been a little odd, right?
It would have. I've seen it before. I've seen testimony be broken up. I've had it happen in a murder trial. I agreed to it. It was the prosecution that wanted to do it, and I consented to it because I thought it was a good idea.
Right.
I've also had witnesses taken out of order previously because I thought it was a good idea. I think that was Dick's move here. He was trying to create a little bit of space. However, I'm not sure that I'd want that. I don't think that you end on Alec testifying. I think the better move is to have some additional witnesses, so if there is a major mic drop in cross-examination, that you don't end on that.
Well, it sounds like from what the state said, I think they believe they have 2.5 to 3 hours left of cross-examination. According to the defense, they have about 2.5 hours of two additional witnesses. It is possible that we could get through Murdaugh tomorrow and these two additional witnesses, but I doubt very seriously if the state has any rebuttal witnesses. We're going to hear those tomorrow, or closing arguments tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, we're not going to hear closing arguments tomorrow. I doubt that. I don't know how long Creighton's going to talk. I assume he's going to be the one giving closing. I could be wrong. It could be John Metters. I think they're both capable attorneys to do the job. I don't know how long they're going to go, though. I have seen some closings go an hour, but I've seen some go 3 hours.
Right.
You don't want to bore the jury, though.
Gotcha.
They've heard it. They've heard it and seen it all. You've been arguing these things in your questioning, so I'm not sure you want to bore the jury. I assume 2 hours.
Sure.
For the defense in closing, so no, we're not getting to that.
You think we're going to get any more admissions in court tomorrow? Any more bombshells in the courtroom tomorrow? Or have we heard about all the shocking things we're going to hear right now?
I think we're going to hear about all the shocking things. So I've got a lot of questions about the $50,000 weekly payments. I've got a lot of questions about that because, if you're using $50,000 worth of pills, that's enough to kill an elephant herd.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a lot of pills right there. And I think there's more to that. And I'm interested to see if Creighton pushes pushes Alec on those issues there,
All right.
to get answers.
Well, testimony is going to resume 9:30 in the morning, and of course we will be there. You can watch it on several different social media platforms. You can watch it on our WLTX Plus page. You can watch it on our YouTube page. You can watch it on WLTX.com. And for those of you who live here in the Midlands, we will have it live on air tomorrow morning at 9:30 on WLTX TV. So we hope that you'll make plans to tune in. Taylor Bell, criminal defense attorney, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
As always, you can find more information about what's going on with the Alec Murdaugh trial right now. Simply go to our website, WLTX.com.